Hey, so I'm going to show you some techniques that you can use with your airbrush to put together to make a whole scene. So I'm going to do like an outer space galaxy type of theme. So when you come to doing this, you can do it on your makeup blocks, your head and shoulder blocks, which is brilliant. On the skin, even better, because the skin will absorb the airbrush paint really well, whereas paper won't. But if you're in a bind, you can use sketchbook paper or the thickest paper that you've got. I've got sketchbook paper, which I've managed to smudge. But this is what we're going to use to do as many techniques as possible in one look, if you will. So I've got my airbrush set up already. In there I've got a kind of yellowy toned paint that I've kind of mixed from bit of blue and bit of yellow. It's not quite green. I'm going to set my airbrush up to maybe 2 should be fine, and I've got it on kind of the midway point of my needle chuck, so I haven't got a skinny spray but I haven't got a big spray. And what I'm going to do is just blast random tones. Leave white bits, but I just want like random tones to pop through. I'm going to take a little bit of red. Chuck that in. Remember to blend your colours. You hold your finger over the nozzle. You pull that trigger a few times, and that'll blend your colours up. I know, hot mess, I know. Just trust the process. These are the undertones of my kind of space galaxy. So if you look at pictures of outer space, you see quite a lot of purple tones and pink tones showing through the kind of galaxies and things. So I'm underpainting, so I'm going to cover all this in black, and you'll barely see any of this. But to give me a really layered effect, I'm just going to pre-paint with a few of those tones. So let's get in with black. Just managed to chuck it all over myself. It really dark around the outer edge. So you could do this as a back piece, you could do this on the face and neck, do this on your leg if you want to. I've got a fairly high PSI, I've got a fat spray. Dark. So like I said, you won't see a lot of these tones. I'm going to lose them, but there'll be enough peeking through to give you a bit of depth. So when it comes to face and body art, it's an absolute waste to try and achieve full body coverage with an airbrush. So if I was doing this on a big scale and I was doing it on a full body, I would probably use regular body paints to do the colours underneath, and then just airbrush the black over the top to save on wasting tons and tons of airbrush paint. So I've sprayed through until there's nothing left in my cup. It's just empty now. I'm going to get some white. Remember, if you're not mixing these properly, you're not going to have a good time. So make sure you spend the time shaking your paints. I'm going to blend that white in with the black that's left over in the cup. And what I've got is a bit of a cereal box that I've ripped the edge of, and I'm going to use this stencil and I'm going to mask off certain areas with it. So sometimes I'm quite far away and on a bit of an angle when I spray, and sometimes I get really close, and that gives you really cool kind of structural details. You can do like misty kind of skies with this technique. You can do backgrounds of like mountain tops or trees or forests in this way. You can do space. There's loads of different things you can do with a ripped bit of cardboard. And if you want to kind of like change it up so your background doesn't look the same every time, just re-rip it. Give yourself a slightly different shape. And I'm going to kind of try and get like an oval effect. Gone in with a bit of black now, just to see if that looks, yeah, don't mind it. So it gives you like lots of different kind of interesting shapes. So you're building up layer by layer your background. So I want to get a planet in there. I feel like it should go there. So I've got my sellotape and I'm going to use this as a stencil, still with the black, only on one side because I want that side to look really dark and shaded, and you can see how much I'm spraying. I want the texture to be quite wet, and then what I will do a bit of kitchen roll is just blot at it, and it gives you like a funky kind of pattern. It lifts away some of the paint. It's hard for you to see here, but it does give you a kind of grainy pattern. I'll do some more in a minute. Let that dry first. So that's going to be my planet. That's going to be my space night sky. I want to do a little bit of hand drawn detail now. So white again. This time with my needle chuck I'm going to tighten it because I want the spray to be a little bit more concentrated, and I'm going to turn the PSI down nice and low, and this should give me fine lines. So this is like lightning. You can do veins if you're doing like a special effects makeup in this way. I'm not moving the airbrush, I'm just shaking my wrist really close to the page or the skin, and you kind of get these cool shapes. So now I want to highlight up my little moon planet, whatever this is. So I'm going to do the highlights on the opposite side to where I did the black. And I start to get a planet coming together. I'm going to go in, I think, with a bit of yellow. Mixing my colours. Do a little test spray. Look at the state of me. And I'm now going to kind of do swishy flicks. Because I want this to, I think I want this to have like rings, like Saturn. I am barely pulling back on that trigger. Build up. go, that'll do. You can alter the tones of it. Put the tiniest drop of red in there. I want a few little kind of stars, so I'm going to do these little kind of white tiny circles, little orbs. I think it needs a bit of blue or something, so I'll do that in a sec. Let's have a little shooting star. Let's have a few, I like it, I think it's cute. I am barely touching the trigger to get these kind of like soft tones. Fine details. Going straight up blue now. Not adjusting my settings, I'm just going to do a little bit of detail. And the more you layer up, the more interesting this will be. Just like little bursts on the trigger, give a bit of texture. Like a nebula situation. So keep doing that until you're kind of happy with it. I mean, if I was going to really take my time on this, I'd be going for hours. So this is all purely with Airbrush. I've just put some water in and I'm just going to turn my PSI right up and blast my airbrush through. Just so it's clean enough that I can put some pure white in there. I could do with a little more planets. It's a shame I haven't got any little smaller circles. I could use this lid and do like a negative, the outside of it rather than the inside. It's not bad. Right. PSI, so your dial, turn it down really low and just widen up, open up the needle chuck a little bit. And by making a wide spray and a slightly, you know, larger hole for the paint to come through, but a low pressure, you'll find it will spit. And that's what we want. We want some stars now. So you purposely want your airbrush to spit, and you're just going to pump on the trigger like that. And you can see it gives you really cool stars with that type of effect. Okay, you can add a little bit of, I'm going to chuck some glitter on this to finish it. Because who doesn't want glitter on their body paint or whatever? Anyhow, okay, too much glitter, never mind. If you ever did do something like that, Just get your airbrush and blow air on it. No paint, just the air to remove anything that you don't like. And likewise, if you've ever got too much paint and you find it's a bit wet, just press the trigger down so you've got airflow, no paint, and it will just dry it down for you. So that's it. As far as techniques go, you've done coverage, you've blended colours together. If you were doing this on the body, you could contour and highlight those colours. You know what I mean? You could like trace the contours of the body. Say you were doing it across the neck and chest, or where your kind of collarbones are, you could contour in. You've got stenciling and masking off in these areas. You've done hand kind of detail, hand painted detail. You've got a bit of embellishment with your glitter. So you've got lots of different techniques to create the right look. This looks really kind of funny in this light. It's a lot darker in the flesh. So that's it. Never needed to fully clean out my airbrush. I just sprayed through until it was empty and added the next colour in. Now I will need to fully wash this. Warm water, little brush from the airbrush kit, and you need to really clean up in the end of the nozzle, really clean down in the end of here until that sprays out nice and clear, and then your water hasn't got any traces of paint. And when it has come out like that, you can put it away. So anyway, have a go at this. Try it ideally on your makeup block. If you can't do it on your block, piece of paper is fine. Get used to adjusting this. The tighter it is, the finer the detail. The looser it is, the bigger the spray. The higher your PSI, the more force you're going to get. The lower, the more gentle it's going to be. All right, that's it. See you soon.